Are you feeling a little stuck on Upwork? Your earnings not growing as fast as you would like them to? Well, today's guest is going to help you. Morgan Overholt is not only a highly successful freelancer on Upwork, she also provides coaching services for freelancers that are looking to improve their results on the platform. And her advice works. In fact, when we first started doing freelancing, we purchased her training program and can vouch that it is awesome. In this episode, Morgan shares 3 tips that will help you get unstuck. And even better, if you listen to the very end, she's going to give you a tactic that is absolutely brilliant. So make sure you watch everything, especially what she has to share with you at the end of the episode. Let's hear what she has to say. Morgan, thank you so much for joining us today. I am so excited for today's interview with you.
Yeah, same, Sean. Thank you so much for having me.
So in case anyone doesn't know who Morgan is, i.e. you've never been online at all and not researched Upwork, Morgan is by far one of my favorite experts in the field because she shares so much great advice for other freelancers. And she kind of, talks the talk and lives the walk, if you will. So Morgan, can you kind of share a little bit of your background with Upwork and how you've, kind of progressed from those early days to kind of the influencer you are today?
Influencer. That's why I come here to these podcasts for the free compliments. But no, so my background, I think people who do follow me have heard my story a million times, but in a nutshell, I rage quit my full-time job, my full-time salaried job back in 2017. And by rage quit, I mean, there was no 2-week notice. I came into work, got really angry, said bye, never came back. I'm trying to coin the term rage quit, by the way. That's certainly something that I would fall into the category of do as I say, not as I do. I'm not promoting that, but I will say for me, it did end up being one of the best things I ever did with my life because it encouraged me to become an entrepreneur. And because I rage quit my job, I didn't have a wonderful plan about how to replace that income immediately. I knew I had always been a freelancer on the side. I've been honestly since I was 18, 19 years old, I've been freelancing on the side. Never saw that as something that could be full-time or highly lucrative for me. My husband did. He came from an entrepreneur family. I did not. I thought it was a fool's errand to go after it. He was like, go after it. So I ended up pursuing it. I looked at every single avenue I possibly could, which is my number one recommendation, by the way, for anybody looking into freelance. Don't roll anything out. I joined every freelance platform. I hit up every single contact in my digital Rolodex, every single person I'd ever worked for, even my friends and family. I told them, look, I just quit my job. I am looking for more work. Please let me know if you have anything or if you know anybody that does, or just keep me in mind. And luckily, some of those avenues panned out. Some of them did not. That was all okay. But Upwork was one of the bigger avenues that really worked out for me.
Oh, wow. So you got onto Upwork, you started putting your work out there. When did you start to decide? And I believe, and just so our audience know, your actual agency is a design firm, correct?
Yes, we mostly do freelance graphic design.
Gotcha. So you were putting this out into the Upwork ecosystem, but at some point you found success on the platform and you decided to help others along their journey. Kind of what was the story behind that, where you decided that I had a lot of information that maybe have helped to others? How did you kind of come to that decision and how does it kind of work?
Well, honestly, I kind of approach it the same way I do anything else in the design world. For instance, as a graphic designer, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this, there's always some new technology or new platform or new software or new thing that Photoshop just came out with. And I've always been very spunky. So if I have a client that says, hey, have you ever done this before? And I'm like, maybe not, but I can figure it out. So I just always kind of but I always pay attention to when people are asking for certain things. I always try to deliver that product, whatever they're asking for. I try to be that solution, And so after a few years of being on Upwork and getting picked up by a few different publications on the internet, Business Insider was the one that I think really kind of took off, got a little bit of viral potential or a little bit of viral steam behind it. People started approaching me and asking me, hey, can you help out? Can you give me advice? Blah, blah, blah. And it started out with just me doing a couple of like blog posts. I didn't even know what blogging really was back then. Like I thought it was just, like the old world school blogger stuff. I didn't think that you could like make money off of any of that. So I wrote a couple of blog posts just to be able to send people like when they asked, because I got tired of answering the same questions over and over. Then people started asking me for consults. They started asking me for more personalized advice. They started asking me like, when are you launching a course? And so finally, I just got my button gear. I'm a big believer in when people are asking for a product, it's your job as an entrepreneur to deliver that product that people are asking for. There's clear demand in the market. And basically that's what I did. And honestly, that's probably my favorite thing that I do today is doing podcasts like this and being able to coach other freelancers. And I offer stuff like everything from $5 Patreon things to like, to courses to personalized one-on-one training sessions. So I've got everything like, that anybody could ever need as far as a range is concerned, a little or a lot of help or something in between. But I have a blast doing it.
Well, I'm going to give you a plug because my co-founder, Daniel, actually took your course and he said it was fantastic. He thought it was very, very helpful when he was first starting out on Upwork. So just for anyone who's interested, we actually would recommend the coursework that she has. And obviously we follow you very closely online. But for today's session, we're going to get some free advice from Morgan. All right. So here's the setup. I have seen a number of freelancers that we've talked to that feel stuck on Upwork. In other words, they've gone through the basics. They've kind of filled in their profile information. They maybe gotten a couple of jobs here and there, but they just don't seem like they're moving the needle, that they're still kind of getting the same type of work, but it's not the volume or the higher end price point they were hoping for. So let's help them out today, Morgan. How can we help that person get unstuck on Upwork?
All right. Well, I've got a couple of things for you here. So first, I want you all to change your mentality about this Upwork platform, because when I talk to people about this all day long, they kind of have a similar mindset as I did when I first started on Upwork. Because again, I was a freelance graphic designer already. I was earning like pretty good rates off platform. I mean, part-time, but all I heard were these Upwork horror stories about how you had to like lower your rates and it's a race to the bottom and all these clients are here to scam you and just anything you could ever imagine. That's all I heard, right? And it's pretty easy to be highly intimidated that or dejected by that. And those biases are often confirmed when we join the platform and we apply for 2 or 3 jobs and we're like, well, didn't get hired. Upwork doesn't work. So what I try to tell people right out of the gate is to think about Upwork more like you're going to the gym, right? So we're currently filming this particular podcast or YouTube video, whatever you want to call it, in mid-January. And I'm sure a lot of you all probably made New Year's resolutions this year to, I'm going to start working out. I'm going to start going to the gym regularly, right? And I'd say, again, recording this mid-January, about half of you all have probably already started to drop off that resolution because you went to the gym a couple of times. You hurt, your muscles are probably pretty sore. Then life started getting in the way and you're like, oh, I'll just skip this week. Then I'll skip next week. And then before you know it, you're not really going. And then you're like, well, I didn't get abs. So, but the interesting thing is nobody will say, well, I didn't get any abs, so gyms don't work. Right? So that's the funny thing to me, because I feel like people treat Upwork the same way, right? They might join the platform with the best of intentions. They apply for like 2 or 3 jobs, like maybe even they're on it for a couple of weeks, but they're not really seeing those immediate results that they expected to see, and then they're like, well, it must not work. I want people to reframe their brains about something like this. Upwork is like any other business or in freelance, honestly. If we take the Upwork equation out of it, it's like any other business. It's going to take a lot of hard work in the beginning to really get started. It's going to take a lot of tweaking your formula. It's going to take a lot of rejection. It's going to take a lot of consistency. When I first joined that platform, I mean, gosh, it took me 2 weeks to even get my first nibble. I mean, and it was like, at first soul crushing, because I'm sitting there thinking I'm an experienced designer. By the time I joined the platform, I've been doing this for 15 years professionally, like people should just be like getting in line because I'm Morgan. But they don't know me from Adam. And so on Upwork, it really took consistency, applying for jobs every single day, applying for multiple jobs every single day, showing up even after I got crickets or worse, rejection, and moving on, tweaking my strategy, sticking with it. And because of that, that's really kind of how, that's how I really found success in the platform. And I'll
Yeah.
tell you one other thing that was really life changing for me, Sean, is that in the first couple of weeks when I was just about to call it quits, like I was just about at my end, and I told my husband, I just don't even know what to do because I feel like I've either got to make some sacrifice or I'm just going to keep putting this time in and see no results, whatever. I was even debating like what kind of job should I even be applying for. My husband really had the best idea, and this is really what worked for me. This was really the catalyst that got me my foot in the door in that first job. And I think it's a completely fair thing to do. He said, why don't you start applying for like smaller jobs, not like cheaper jobs. There's a difference between cheap and small, right?
Right.
Like there's a person that's like, I want you to hang the moon and do like 5,000 other things and give me 52 hours and we're going to pay you $5
Right.
versus like, the jobs I started looking for were like, hey, can you fix this broken vector? Or can you re-export this? Or like stuff that I could do in like 10, 15 minutes really, really quick. And it doesn't matter if it's like 10, 20 bucks. Today, that wouldn't be worth my time. But back then, it was really easy for get my foot in the door. And it wasn't taking like a ton of time for me to do those things. And even then, I was kind of still a little protesty. But my husband said, you know, the reason you need to start looking for maybe these like little bite-sized projects to get your foot in the door is you need to treat this almost like consider it like a marketing expense in your business, right? You're trying to run before you walk. You're trying to go after these really big fish. You don't even have a single review on your profile. And if you're worried about the time, if you're worrying about like lowering yourself, you know, if you're doing a small job that you wouldn't normally take on, he says, think about this. How much money would you give Upwork right now if you could just cut them a check and cut through all this red tape and just be successful? Can you not treat those little small jobs like a marketing expense to your business?
Yeah.
And that was just like such a light bulb moment for me when I started thinking about, okay, I don't have to like lower myself or be mistreated by a client, but maybe I should start looking for something a little bit more bite size and treat my time more like a marketing expense. And I also treated my time when I sent proposals like a marketing expense of my time. And when I started thinking about it that way, honestly, that's when my whole mindset started to change. And I finally started finding success. And I use that specific example to say that my first job on the platform was literally a guy who had a vector that somebody else designed for him. It was like a logo of like a running guy with a briefcase. And he wanted me to remove the guy's tie. That was it. It was a $10 job. He just wanted somebody that can remove the tie. And I'm like, it took me 5 minutes. I got a 5-star review. I mean, sure, after Upwork fees back then, I might have cleared like $5, but who cares? A 5-star review? Like I would have paid hundreds for that.
Right.
And after that, it just got so much easier in time. So those are kind of like the mindset shifts that I want people to start considering. I want them to start treating it just like anything else, like you're going to the gym, like you're building a business. You know, you're never going to see a restaurateur open up a restaurant, not advertise, not put any time into it, or go to work a couple of days and be like, why is no one not coming to my restaurant? You have to put time and effort into this and start treating your time like a marketing expense. Don't look at it as wasted. Look at it as sweat equity that everyone is inevitably going to put in.
Yeah. I think with this mindset thing is so important, and we don't talk enough about it in the freelancer world to begin with, because it's not just that mindset of treating it like a marketing expense, which was brilliant, by the way. You married a very smart man if he's watching. So he was, because they're correct. It is that trade-off of time to get exposure that then builds that flywheel to get more work. But it's also the mindset of confidence that you are worth the price that you're charging, that you do have expertise in a specific field. And oh, by the way, it may seem like a very small field, but for that field, you become the expert in it, then everyone comes to you. So I don't think we talk enough about mindset mentality of confidence, of, you know, being willing to make those small little adjustments in the beginning to build the flywheel that will just keep on getting better and better and better. Because most freelancers have the skills, but you have to have that mindset of confidence of, I'm going to put in the time early, I'm going to pay my dues, if you will, on the platform. Even though I may have had huge success prior to it, at least I'm saying to myself, every little step builds to the next one, and I am confident that I can get there. So that's absolute great advice. So let's say someone does have that mindset. They're starting to get that little flywheel going. They're starting to get, you know, those little small jobs and 5-star reviews, and their JSS, their job success score is increasing, but they're kind of plateaued a little bit. They're just not going out there. Yes, they need to go to the gym. It's frustrating. The 6-pack abs haven't materialized after 2 workouts. Who knew? What else should they be concentrating on?
I mean, again, to me, it's all about that consistency, right? About making sure that you continuously show up every day, that you continuously apply for proposals first and foremost. But there are little secrets that you can do, especially if or little hacks, if you will, especially if you've already got a couple of clients under your belt. Like two of the things that really helped me early on is with every single client engagement, I would end that engagement with two asks for the client. I would say, number one, please leave me a 5-star review. I wouldn't even say leave me a review. Please leave me a 5-star review because it is pertinent to my ability to continue to earn jobs on this platform. I would ask them that when they close the contract. And I would usually encourage them to initiate the end of the contract because when your client initiates it, they are automatically prompted to leave that review. If you initiate it, that's kind of more optional. I mean, it's always optional, but you're way less likely to get that review from them. So that's one of the things that I did. The second thing is I focused on that referral network immediately. And I do this with my offsite clients too. So this is not just an Upwork, hack, but it works both ways. You always say, hey, and always please keep me in mind for future work. And I would love a referral. So if you have any friends or any other business colleagues that are able to recommend that, might be looking for work or you'd like to recommend me to, please keep me in mind for future work. And those two little hacks right there are absolutely major because it's going to improve your stats. You're going to get more reviews. And with every single review you get, getting additional jobs is so much easier to do. And that referral network, that's like the stuff of gold. I today am a lazy freelancer, Sean. Like, I'm not afraid to say that. That's not a negative thing to me because, like, I haven't had to apply for a job in over a year. In fact, I've turned down at least a dozen jobs this year because I just don't need the work anymore. Like, I'm full up. I'm good. I have all the work I could stand. I'm extraordinarily picky today, and I no longer apply because I don't need to.
Right.
And my referral network keeps bringing that stuff into me. And so that was one thing I wanted to say, too, about remember, guys, when you're putting in that sweat equity in the early days, I mean, I'm so glad that I did because today I don't have to do anything. And it just all comes to me and I sit back and collect the cash. It's amazing. And that's the goal. And if I could have told myself back then, hey, look, these first month or two might be kind of, whatever, but this is going to be easy street in just another few months. I mean, my mindset would have been totally different at the start. So I do want y'all to keep in mind that is the eventual goal. And one of the quickest ways you can get there is by constantly encouraging those referrals and reminding people of what you're looking for. Put it out in the universe, literally.
Let me ask you something about that because I do think that's an interesting point I never really considered because there are a lot of people that do reach out to you in the messaging, right? You've applied for a job, you're now communicating with them on platform, and you're messaging them. You maybe got the job, so you've done the work. A couple of months passed. Do you think it's okay to reach back out to them on the messaging system and say, oh, by the way, do you have anything else? Or do you know of anyone that would potentially need my services?
I mean, I typically, it's funny you ask that question because I see a lot of freelancers do that to me. Like I am also a client on Upwork and I do get a lot of that, or people are like, hey, do you have any more work? Do you have any more work? I don't typically love that as a client. It smells a little desperate-y to me when you're like, hey, do you have any work? But I think you could possibly phrase that in a different way. Or you could be like, especially during a holiday or something like that. Hey, hope you're having a great holiday or whatever, just wishing you have Merry Christmas and keep in mind if you guys need any support this holiday season or something like that. So I think approaching it more like that. Keep me in mind if you need any support, I'm available for you, and well wishes. It needs to kind of sound a little bit more like that than, hey, do you have any more work for me?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's in how you approach it. Like, hey, I'm desperate right now. Do you have anything? I'll do whatever you want versus, hey, just was thinking of you. I mean, sometimes it can be just as powerful as I ran across a client similar to you or did a job similar to you, was just thinking about you, wanting to check in and see how things are going. I mean, it could be something like that.
I honestly think that some stuff like that works so well. Like one of the things that I did, and I learned this by mistake, is I collect all the email addresses from every client I've ever worked with, on site and not. And used to, I would send out, well, still kind of day to day, but a little bit less frequently, send out these like regular check-ins to kind of let them know about my schedule. So if I do want to take a vacation or I take time off for the holidays, I send my clients an email that just says, hey, here's going to be my upcoming office hours, essentially, plan accordingly. And even that email, it doesn't say anything about send me work. In fact, it's the opposite. It's usually about me taking time off. That generates jobs because all of a sudden I'm like in the forefront of their mind. It's the funniest thing every single time I send that email out. So it's kind of funny. You don't even really have to ask for that sort of thing. You just have to more kind of remind them, yeah, I'm still here. I'm still in business, whatever. And they're like, oh, yeah, Morgan's got the thing. I also find that the most successful form of, networking and that sort of stuff is when it's genuine. In fact, I recently coached a freelancer who had great work, but I kind of honestly sort of forgotten about him, after a while, because I coach a lot of people. Until one day, my virtual office, I received this letter in the mail postmarked from England. And I'm like, what in the heck? Why is someone sent me something from England, like a letter? And I opened it up, and he had apparently looked my business up on the internet. I have a virtual office. I don't put my home address on there, thank goodness. But he looked up the internet, sent me a handwritten letter wishing me well and thanking me for the help that I had provided and giving me an update about like his life. And it was so genuine. He wasn't even asking for anything. But the funny thing is now we're almost pen pals. Like we're always checking in with one another. And I've even started to give him work because it was more natural. He's never begged me for anything, but he just became more of a friend than anything. So I also encourage that. Just think about these things much more naturally, and still today I'm much more likely to call him and be like, hey, here's some work. Versus, the hundreds of LinkedIn messages I get every day. Hey, can you please send me work? Hey, can you please send me work? That just doesn't work. So yeah, if you are going to go about doing that kind of stuff, make sure that it feels a little bit more organic and that you're wishing people well, checking in with them, sharing little, little tidbits or whatever, and do it naturally. Be a human at the end of the day. That's what we're looking for.
Let me ask you something, given your history on there, and this comes up quite a bit. And by the way, everyone, Morgan has some great cover letter proposal templates out there. By all means, please visit her site, look in the show notes. I'll put links out to it. But I also want to talk a little bit about a recent trend that I think some freelancers are uncomfortable with. The guy or gal who's stuck. One of the things that we highly recommend, and I know you do as well, is put a call to action in your cover letters. Please message me on Upwork. I need more information. I'd like to discuss your job, etc. And then make sure to let them know that you are available for a video call via Upwork on Zoom. Because I'm starting to notice, especially after the pandemic, that we've all become, basically very comfortable with, being on a Zoom call. But I think it's important to reinforce that because it goes back to building that personality, that connection, that communication, is making sure that people get on a call with you. But I'm noticing a lot of freelancers that are stuck are still reluctant to get on a Zoom call with a potential client. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Oh, Sean, I'm actually going to disagree with you just a little bit here.
Oh, good. Oh, we got controversy.
I say Zoom calls are totally unnecessary.
Well, I love it. Alternative point of view. Give it to me.
I mean, I'm old school, right? Like I've been doing this before Zoom was a thing. Like Zoom only became popular during the pandemic. And believe it or not, there's actually a whole bunch of people out there just like me who don't like Zoom. I mean, like today, honestly, that's one of the things that I'll even turn down a client if they're like, hey, we have like weekly Zoom calls or monthly Zoom calls, because I just don't want to have to be doing that all the time. It's not my personal preference. In the early days, I might have taken that on, but not today. There are even clients I have personally who say, hey, look, I do not like Zoom. So I prefer that we just stay here. So I actually encourage people, yes, to make that personal connection, but don't assume that you have to drive that client to a Zoom call because not everybody likes it. I mean, ask yourself right now, if you're listening to this, do you really look forward to all those Zoom calls? Like, honestly, some of you probably do. I'm not judging, but I don't think everybody does, right? Like, oh boy, get out of bed. I got a Zoom call today. Most of us have Zoom fatigue. And I honestly find that I can actually get a close a lot quicker if we skip all of that for the clients. I mean, I let them know I'm available for it. I'll hop on a discovery Zoom. It's all good. It's up to you. We can either chat here or on Zoom. I make that clear. That's usually kind of my call to action. We can either chat right here in the messenger or we can schedule a call. But honestly, I typically like to ask all my questions in the messenger because I find it kind of hooks the client a lot quicker. Because if I sit around and try to schedule some formal call, hours could pass, days could pass. That is really important time. I find that I hook people quicker if I'm just in that messenger, letting them know the call's available. I can hop on now or later if you want me to, but I'm sitting there asking questions. I'm getting all the job requirements the second you start talking to me. And that's what hooks them. And usually by the time I finish with all my requirements, I end by saying, hey, are you ready to get started? To send over the offer now. And I'm telling you, that works. I think Zooms take up a lot of time unnecessarily most of the time. So
Wow. It's interesting that you say that because a lot of times, because like you, we are also clients. We both have the freelancing side. We have the client side where we're bringing in or augmenting additional work that we need. And I will say that for us, we actually demand Zoom calls in the developer space. And the reason I say that is because in development, application development, you'll find a lot of people out there who represent themselves one way, but when you get them on a Zoom call, they are completely different than what the profile is. And it also, especially given the type of projects we like to go for, we do want to be able to have that ongoing communication. So I think it is dependent upon kind of the type of work, but I love your approach, which is, look, give the client the option. So don't be afraid to get on a Zoom call, but it doesn't have to be a Zoom call is really what you're saying. But make sure to include the call to action in your proposal cover letter.
Yes.
So that, hey, message me so we can talk, in whatever way is convenient for you. And that way we get them in and we engage them. I also believe that, and I think this is a credit to your skill set, over time, your profile really says a lot more about you than necessarily a Zoom call could, right? I mean, at some point, the portfolio work, the projects that you've done, I mean, at some point, the client, because really what is a Zoom call at the very early stage? It's just building confidence, right? It's about building confidence in the person that you want to work with, that you can trust them to do the work. And at some point, your skills are so honed that your profile is so complete that the confidence level is extremely high. So messaging may just be the easiest way because you're not having trying to convince them that you know what the heck you're doing.
Well, and again, in the beginning, because I started Upwork before Zoom was really a thing, and even still today, I'll say more in the beginning, probably because my profile wasn't built up. I was still able to communicate that ability to do my job, even without a video call. So, I mean, again, I do them if people request them. Today I'm a lot more picky about it. I'm kind of like, I'll do it once, but not regularly. There's a lid for every pot. I even have clients who have thanked me for not being a big Zoom person because they are not big Zoom people. So if you've ever wondered if there's not a lid for every pot, man, there is.
I love that. So introverts, it's okay. You don't have to be on a call like this. It's okay.
Exactly.
Well, we're coming close to our time together. Is there any other parting advice that you would like to give to them? And I obviously want to talk a little bit more about the services you provide, but is there anything else that you would give as kind of a closing thought for that freelancer that may be stuck on Upwork?
I've got the ultimate hack for you guys. Get ready for this. So first of all, I do want to say that course you referenced earlier, it's an Upwork proposal writing boot camp, and you can complete it in 40 minutes, literally on your lunch break. It's normally like $19.99, $19.95. So it's like the cost of a DoorDash order. But for your fans, I've actually made a special promo code. You can get 20% off. It'll be Pouncer20. So just enter Pouncer20. So you can go to morganoverholt.com/shop. And then just go to the Teachable course and enter the code Pouncer20 at checkout, and you'll get 20% off exclusively for your audience. So y'all are welcome. But I do have a hack, and I mentioned that first because I actually go over this in the course. I recommend being a client on Upwork. All right. Because that is going to show you so much about how this platform works and how people are writing proposals and what people are looking for. It was such an illuminating experience for me. And you can do that just by going to your profile settings as a freelancer and adding a second profile as a client. So you can just toggle back and forth between your freelancer and client profiles. Post a job for anything. I don't care. Come up with something, even if it's a fake job. Be like, I need someone to Photoshop, or a Bozo the Clown's head on this image. I don't care what it is. Do something. Put the job post out there. Get a feel for the process your clients are going through. Get a feel for the type of proposals that they're receiving. You'll start to really get an appreciation for how low the competition actually is. You think there's a lot of competition on this platform? There is not. Every time I post something, a job post, I get like 40 terrible proposals, maybe 3 decent ones out of the entire lot. You'll also get a feel for exactly what those proposals look like on the client end, how they come into the inbox, what that client is seeing before they even open it, what the client is seeing when they open it. And I say that because my course actually does that. In fact, it's a client-focused approach in my 40-minute course because I actually take you through what I recently went through on my own job posting, looking for someone to write an article for my blog. I show you some of the actual proposals that I received. I show you the interface of the client side of Upwork. So it's a really great way to kind of see that and get a feel for it. And I share with you the mistakes those people have made and ultimately the person that I hired for the job and why. So it's super illuminating, I think, especially if you don't have the time or the patience to create a client account on your own. Definitely take a look at the course because it is game changing. And I think honestly, if besides just, like I said earlier about the marketing expense and kind of changing my mindset, thinking if it's marketing expense, looking at the commitment as just like you would going to the gym, but taking a walk in my client's shoes is probably that third pro tip hack that I think every successful freelancer or would be successful freelancer needs to do on this platform.
That is awesome, Morgan. That is such a great hack. And thank you so much for putting the promo code Pouncer20. So everyone look in the show notes. You'll see the link directly to there. Put in Pouncer20. And as I said, Daniel went through her coursework. Absolutely loved it. Highly, highly recommend it. And with 20% off, there really is no excuse given the price point and how much low it is. You're right. It's going to your DoorDash order will cost more than sitting there and building a business. But I love this concept of looking at it from the client perspective, because you're absolutely right. If you have any fear that you're not good enough, wait. You're going to say, wow, I may be better than this. Holy cow.
Yeah. That's what most people say. That's the feedback I always hear from people who actually do exactly that. They're always like, wow, I thought there was so much competition on Upwork and now I realize there really isn't. Or they say, oh, I didn't realize that, the client's looking for this one little thing, or this is what they see first and I didn't have that one little thing. So it's such a game changer to really see that. So highly recommend it.
Morgan, that is absolutely phenomenal. And thank you for our audience. And how else can people get in touch with you? I know you're quite active. So what are your preferred ways for people to engage with you?
So I'm on every platform at Morgan O Media, but I am most active on Twitter. Or sorry, the X, the platform formerly known as Twitter. It's like the new Prince thing, right? But that's where I'm most active. And of course, you could check out my blog. I've also got a free Upwork Jumpstart Kit just for people who are new to Upwork. Really cool, quick story. I had a friend from high school reach out last week. She said she wanted to get into proofreading, had no professional experience whatsoever. She goes, I can't afford, your one-on-one consulting. Do you have anything? I just sent her my little free ebook, my little Jumpstart Kit, which you can get on my homepage, signing up for my newsletter. And within 2 weeks, she got her first job on Upwork with no professional experience in proofreading. So she thanked me for it because she said it was exactly what she needed. So yeah, make sure to check that out too if you're really just kind of looking for a way to get started.
Morgan, thank you for everything. And absolutely, we'll include this in the show notes below. Awesome. When you mentioned that it's January, yes, I'm literally shivering here in Dallas, Texas, and your short sleeves there in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I am jealous.
I know. I should really make a note to look colder on these interviews.
Exactly.
To show them a scarf.
Put on a sweater just to make us feel better. Morgan,
Right.
Thank you again. Really appreciate it.
Of course, it's been a blast.
Thank you for watching the video. And if you're not already subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe to our channel here. More importantly, if you found it useful, please share it with your friends. And one more thing, if you're looking for some great tools to help you succeed on Upwork, go check out Pouncer.ai. We think you'll like it.